Hello, everybody. Good morning or afternoon. First of all, thank you so much for watching. I apologize that I'm unable to be with you in person, but as you can hear from my voice, and probably deduce, I am not feeling well whatsoever. Um, and instead of risking all of your immune systems, I am doing this virtually instead. But before we get into it, my name is Josiah Williams. I'm the Senior Program Manager for the Quality of Life Innovations Program through WISE. We're a nonprofit based in Manhattan. We've been working with the public schools in New York City for about 30 years now, and we have some programs that actually go national. Um, and I'm here to talk to you today about the Quality of Life Innovations program. I'm going to be sharing some more information about what the program is, what it entails, what are some of the benefits that you gain from this, and talking about examples. All right. In the hopes that it piques your interest or you see this as something that you can utilize for a college application, you can put it on a resume. This program and the experiences that you will gain from this program are so valuable in building key life skills that will prepare you for college and or your career after high school. Okay, so let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen, which has this PowerPoint presentation. Lovely. So the Quality of Life Innovations Program. What are we going to talk about today? So our agenda is um, just very simple. I'm going to give you an overview of what the program is, and then we'll go into the benefits of this program, scholarships, the awards available, and so on. Then we'll talk about specifics of the QLI project, and then we'll do a closing, and I'll touch on some frequently asked questions by students and teachers. Okay? Oh, something else is that you're actually making an effort to change and to better your community. This program also is a year-long community impact project. So we start in October and November and go through April. Um, so around this time, you'll be identifying these issues, thinking about it, and then April is when our competition begins. This program also, it guides you, in the video touched on it, with the support of the student manual. It guides you through creating a project, a community impact project. And that project requires primary and secondary research. So primary research are doing surveys, doing interviews, maybe doing experiments, whatever based on your topic. And then your secondary research is finding sources. This is doing background research. So finding articles, finding other things to really give context to the issue. And then the last piece of this program is like I just said, the college scholarship competition. Um, and I want to show you the timeline. Oh, I guess it's coming up in a minute. Pause. We'll look at the timeline specifically when we get to program specifics. I'm sorry, my brain is not working today. Um, but this is just an overview of what the Quality of Life Innovations program is. And throughout the program, throughout the year, as the video touched on, WISE and I provide a lot of supports throughout to make sure that your projects, to make sure that you are as prepared as possible, to make sure your projects are as successful as they can be, and that you have the support that you need to truly make a difference in your community. So we're going to look at two example projects from the previous year. This first one it was titled, How Does Population Concentration Affect the Prevalence of Microfibers in New York City Waters? So this was a group of two students from a Staten Island high school, and they were really concerned with, excuse me, they were really concerned with microfibers, microparticles. I'm sure we've all heard of microplastics, how you get microplastics from everything. Like if you let a plastic water bottle sit in the sun and then you drink it, you're drinking some microplastics. Um, they can really come from anywhere. So these students were really concerned with microparticles and were interested in looking at how the population density of a neighborhood or of an area may affect the amount of microparticles in the water. So ooh, that was their quality of life issue. They conducted background research, secondary research on microparticles, and really made the case that this is a quality of life issue because a large amount of microparticles are harmful to the ecosystems in that area. They also uncovered in the research that microparticles, like microplastics, are released in large amounts by washing machines. Okay? So just keep that in mind. And they designed their primary research to be to test the water quality from samples across New York City. So they took samples from Coney Island, Pebble Beach, a pool in Staten Island, and Wolf's Pond. And you can see that in this figure right here. They identified each of the locations. And from testing that, they counted, they literally counted, and here's a picture of the samples. They counted the microparticles um, under a microscope to assess the density of microparticles in the water samples. And then they compared those numbers, those amounts, with the population in the area. Um, and they found that where the population was larger, the microparticle density or amount was also larger, right? So they took that data and then they developed a solution. And what they did is they designed a water filter with 4 different layers to reduce the amount of microparticles coming specifically from washing machine drainage tubes. So they designed it to fit inside of a washing machine's tubes and designed it with 4 layers, all backed by the secondary background research, um, showing that these layers of loam and sand and whatnot would block microparticles from getting into the environment. And so that's what this team did over the year. And they were actually a finalist, one of our 8 finalists in the competition last year for their work. Another example, this one is titled Active Hearts, Mandating CPR Education in New York City Public High Schools. So they were really concerned with the lack of CPR education courses or the fact that they are not required for New York City high school students. And so they conducted background research on cardiac incidents and found that 90% of heart attacks that happen outside of the hospital lead to fatality. So this is the context that these students are working with. And they conducted primary research, they did survey research of students at their school and staff at their school to see what they thought about these statistics and whether or not they thought that mandating CPR in high schools was a good idea or unnecessary. And they found that a majority of students and staff felt like it was important. And so their solution, they created a website, they created a petition, they created flyers to spread awareness about the importance of CPR education. This is a screenshot of their website. It talks about their background research and talks about CPR education. What is CPR? So they did an education campaign to help their peers and anyone else in their community learn about CPR education. But they also took it a next step and drafted a policy for New York City Model Congress, and that's here. Excuse me. And this policy that they drafted, they actually connected with one of their local council members and shared this policy with her office and engaged in conversations about what that process would be like for mandating this education for all of high school students. So they took all of this research and this work and were able to create this really engaging educational campaign, as well as connect with the local or not council person. So your work here in this program is not trivial. The work that students do through the QLI program is so, so important in the community, and it's recognized by council members, by large organizations. There was another project last year that actually connected with the MTA. And if you're ever in a subway station and you hear high school students talking about subway surfing, the phrase ride inside, stay alive, those are QLI students. They did a lot of research, background research on subway surfing, and they were able to connect with and use that as a reason to work with the MTA to do this whole campaign of ride inside, stay alive. That's a QLI project. So this work that you would be doing in this program is not trivial. It's very impactful, and it's recognized by very important and prominent figures. Okay, so these are two examples, and I want to transition to these two questions for you to think about as I'm talking about this and as I'm going through the specifics of what this program is. I want you to put yourself in the shoes of a QLI student, um, and you would be thinking, where these are some questions that you should ask yourself. Are there issues in your community that have affected you, your friends, or your family? Maybe this is and I would add to that, is this something you would like to change? The second question, do you want to make a difference in your neighborhood? So that kind of, these build on each other. Are there issues affecting you, your circle, and do you want to make a difference? Do you want to make a change in your community? These are foundational questions for QLI students. Our QLI students are driven, they are leaders, they can identify these issues, and they have a desire to make their community better, right? And so, bearing that in mind and thinking about these two example projects, before we before I go into the specifics of what this project looks like, what this program entails, I want to give you some more benefits about the QLI program. If making a difference isn't enough for you, we do have some other extrinsic motivators with this program. So, what do you get? I think the most important thing that I want to mention is college scholarships. So, in April, like I said, this program goes from October, November to April. In April, you will submit your work into our scholarship competition. First prize gets $10,000. Second prize gets $8,000, and third prize gets $7,000. These are significant amounts. This is not nothing, right? And then we also have some additional cash prizes. So we have Creative Writing Award, and this is $1,000 cash prize. And then we have Innovative Idea Award, and this is also $1,000 cash prize, right? So as you're working in the community, as you're thinking about this impact in this project, you're also competing for scholarships. We want to reward your work in the community. We want to reward the impact that you have with this. And in addition to that, we also are recognizing our QLI students by giving them certificates of achievement specifically from WISE, as well as college recommendation letters. You remember from the video, I believe it was 94% of QLI students are college bound. And that's true from this past year. We had about 94% of our students attending college, and that includes a 4-year university as well as a 2-year university. So we definitely want to recognize our students who are interested in college and want to support that. So every student that goes through this program will receive that support from WISE. In addition, we also offer borough president awards or recognition from the borough president's offices. Um, so you all could receive a certificate of achievement and recognition from the Bronx Borough President's office for your work, showing that you are leaders in the entire borough. And then we also provide recognition for our finalists from the mayor's office. So this is recognition that you are leaders in the entire city, right? So this is not insignificant achievements. All of these you can put on a resume, a college application, um, to help support that and demonstrate your growth as a leader, as a researcher, as a community advocate, as an entrepreneur. All of these things are to support that, to support your growth as that leader, as that community advocate. All right, so now we're going to talk about the specifics of the QLI project, and kind of break it down even more. So I'm going to go back to this question. Are there issues in your community that have affected you, your friends, or your family? This is a central question for QLI students. I'm sure we all have things that come to mind, issues in the city, issues in our neighborhoods that we want to change, that we want to see better. What separates the average person from a QLI student is a QLI student will take the initiative to make that change. So thinking about this, are there issues in your community? Are there issues at your school? Are there issues in your neighborhood? Are there issues in your borough that you want to see better or that you want to see changed, right? Do you have a personal connection to them? Has that have these issues had an effect on your family, on your friends? This is a central question for QLI students. And from that, you have to answer that question in this program, in this project. You have to identify a quality of life issue. So the issue that you identify has to be affecting the quality of life in your community, right? That's a very important piece of this project is that the issues that our students are selecting, they affect multiple people. They affect a community. Once you identify this issue, then you're talking to people who are also affected by this issue. Maybe you're doing interviews, you're doing surveys to try and learn more about this. And then we're collaborating to develop solutions. Remember, I talked about the team that met with the MTA. They collaborated with the MTA to address subway surfing. Um, excuse me. Now we're going to talk about timeline. Um, and I want to kind of just, again, going into the specifics. So what would this look like for you as a QLI student? In November, we would start with your quality of life issue. So October to November, you're identifying that issue. Remember, it has to be a quality of life issue. It has to be something affecting your community. And then November to January, you're doing background research to learn more about the issue and you're contacting experts. Okay, so we're getting sources, we're finding articles, we're reaching out to experts, doing interviews to learn more about this issue. Let's say, for example, because I like examples, it helps me ground this information rather than being very theoretical. So let's say your issue was sustainability in food waste in your school's cafeteria. Okay, so just food waste, period, is the topic. So that's our quality of life issue. Why is it a quality of life issue? Well, sustainability. So we'll do background research thinking about food sustainability, we're how much waste are we creating? Um, how much of this food could be composted? How much of it isn't actually waste? What can we do? Um, what about the utensils? Da, 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 da. So thinking about all of these things, we're doing background research. Maybe let's find articles on food sustainability. Let's find articles about uh, recycling utensils. Let's interview the staff at our school who works in the cafeteria. Let's interview maybe a principal or assistant principal to talk about the process of getting rid of food waste or collecting food waste, right? So then in January, and that's all happening November to January. In January, now let's come up with a primary research plan to better understand how the issue affects your community. So maybe we measure how much food waste is produced by our school, okay? So maybe we weigh how many pounds of food waste is created every week. Maybe we do surveys to understand if our peers, the other students at our school want to or think that this is an issue or would want to contribute to change to make it different. Maybe we're thinking a solution could be composting. So we want to survey the other students to see if they would participate in helping uh, excuse me, in helping to compost so that we're not wasting as much food, right? So this is the primary field research that we're doing during this time. After that research, so maybe we measure 200 pounds of food waste every week. And 80% of the students would like to help reduce the food waste and would like to help compost. So in March, we're looking at this data and we're taking the steps to implement solutions, right? So we start implementing compost in our food, in our cafeteria. We're working with the staff to have signs that tell students what to compost and what not to compost. Maybe we start a club where students volunteer to tell students what to compost and what not to compost. So these are all of our implementations to help solve the issue. And then in April, we finalize our project by writing a 10 to 17 page proposal, and which gets submitted to the competition. So I hope this may come out of left field, but as you're going through it from November to April, the end product of your project is a QLI research proposal. This proposal is 10 pages minimum, double-spaced, students, double-spaced, and it outlines the entire process that you've gone through. So you start with your background research, at least 3 pages, then your field research, at least 3 pages, and then your recommendations, your implementation, how much did this cost? So you're writing as you're going. And in April, you just put it all together, and that gets uploaded and submitted to the QLI competition, right? And when we talked about supports, we do have a student manual that takes you step by step through each of the required sections you need to write about. But this should not be something you wait till April to write or to put together. You should be doing this the entire school year from November. And so some supports for this project throughout the timeline that we provide is the project manual. So again, like I said, this takes you through the entire project and breaks it down into very discrete pieces to help you understand exactly what's required, what you have to write about, what you have to answer. This also includes rubrics and other ideas to think about. We also do monthly webinars. So these I lead, and they talk about specifically the project. So it's a space for you to ask questions, for you to learn more about what this project is. And then we also have a primary research guidebook that talks about doing field research, doing surveys, observational research, and so on. We also provide competition rubrics. You know exactly where the points are going. And then you also get past project examples, okay? And these are all the supports to help you create the best project possible. And I want to talk about this next. This is another example, Hues of You, Student Representation Through Art. This is another project that a student did last year. And their quality of life issue was about representation on school campus. So their project was focused in the school community, and they found that the murals around school did not represent the actual students or did not represent the actual demographics of students. And so they did background research and they pulled some articles and found that murals have a really important role, have a power to make students, especially students of color, feel seen. And this representation is important in all educational materials. Their background research also talked about textbooks and other things around a school campus and how not seeing yourself represented in all these materials can make one feel isolated or alienated. And so these students conducted primary research. They did an observational study in their school looking at all the murals. And they also surveyed their peers. They found that over 50% of the students that they surveyed didn't feel represented by the murals on campus. And they, in observing the murals, found that most of them were in poor condition and also didn't represent the demographics of their student body. So, what was their solution? They partnered with an art teacher to design and create their own murals in a high traffic area of the school. And so here you see a picture of their designs and the initial sketch, and then you see a picture of them actually working to create this mural. And it was really, really cool to see the students taking this initiative and actually creating something of their own to represent the student body. And so I want to end on this slide, just frequently asked questions. But before we do that, the biggest takeaway from me as the program manager is I love seeing students take initiative, being creative. This program allows the students to take the reins. You identify an issue, and then through the supports and through the tools, you're able to create something that completely gets rid of that issue or that betters that problem in your community, that works to make positive change. And that's the beauty of this program. That is where it stands apart from all the other programs, in my humble opinion. But I think that's where we get the benefits. That's where we get the students developing leadership skills, communication skills, confidence, initiative, all of these life skills, teamwork that will really prepare you for college or your career after high school. So some frequently asked questions. Because I couldn't be there in person, I wanted to have this slide. And if you have any questions, please write them down. Please, you can email me directly or you can give them to your teacher and your teacher can email me. But a few frequently asked questions that students have for me when I present this program to them is, can anyone participate? Number one, yes, this is open to 9th through 12th grade students, so anyone is able to participate. The next question, can I work alone? Yes, you can work alone. You can work alone or in a team of up to 3 people. So there can be 1 person on a project, 2 people, or 3 people, but no more than 3. How do you submit your project to the competition? So in April, there is an online website called Reviewer where you will go there and you will upload your proposal as a PDF or a Word document into the competition. And then we start judging, and then you'll find out if you've made it to the next round by May. How do I find an expert to interview for my background research? And sometimes this question is phrased as, how do I connect with organizations? How do I how do I collaborate with people? My answer is always just reach out. Just just ask. Ask first. So how do I find an expert to interview? If you have a topic, maybe consider professors. Maybe just Google your topic and see if there's anybody in New York City or any organizations in New York City that are also working on that issue. You can reach out to me. We have a vast network of partner organizations, and I'm always willing and able to connect you with these organizations to help you network. Your teacher is an incredible resource to find connections as well. But just reached out, just send an email, ask a question. But if you do reach out and connect with experts and send emails, you have to have your teacher check your email first or CC'd on your email. Follow your school guidelines and protocol with that. And then does the QLI proposal really have to be 10 pages? Excuse me. I love this question. And typically a student will ask this at the beginning of the year, but by the end of the year, they're asking me, do I really have to keep it at or cap it at 17 pages? Can I please go over? Yes, it has to be 10 pages long. Like I said, that's double spaced, but the work you're doing, as I hope you see by now, is really impactful and is thorough, is very thorough. So you're doing a lot of background research, field research, and so on, developing recommendations, implementations. So you will hopefully have no problem reaching that 10-page limit, or 10-page minimum, right? Because you're doing the work. You're doing a lot of work in the community. But yes, it does have to be 10 pages long. Any proposal that is below 10 pages will be automatically disqualified in the competition and ineligible for any of the awards or recognition. Or the awards, I mean. You will receive a certificate of completion, but you won't be able to receive any scholarships, any prize money. And those are the main FAQs I can think of. I cannot think of any more, but if you have any other specific questions, please, you can email me, or you can reach out to your teacher and have them email me. I forgot to add a slide. My name is Josiah Williams with my contact information. I am the QLI Senior Program Manager, and my email is jwilliams at wise, oops, I can't type today either, wise-ny.org.